So today we'll be discussing about degrees of freedom. So far we have studied what is link, or in terms of theory of machine, we say what is kinematic link, and then what is pair, what is a joint, what is a kinematic chain or linkage or mechanism. So just a quick reminder here, link is the smallest unit of any machine or a mechanism which remains rigid in its shape during the operation or during the motion, and does not have relative motion with respect to it by itself. Pair is a combination of two links attached with each other so that they allow the movement of one link with respect to another link. Joint is a mechanism by which two links are connected. So a joint is like it may be a revolute joint. So what is a revolute joint? It means that one link is connected to another link and it allows the rotation of one link with respect to another link. Similarly, there may be cylindrical joints. So cylindrical joints are the joints where a cylindrical movement take place inside a hub. The cylindrical movement may be rotational or it may be a translational. So this joint may be revolute, may be cylindrical, may be a prismatic. So a prismatic joint is a kind of a cylindrical joint, but in which in this the cylinder is replaced by a rectangular cross-sectional element. Okay. A linkage or chain or mechanism is simply defined as a combination of links connected to each other so that they perform some useful work. Now, when we analyze the systems or the machines, we analyze them by starting from what is the position of each link at particular instant, and then what is the velocity at that particular instant, and then we determine what is the acceleration and inertial forces at particular instant. So at every instant, the linkage or the chain may have different position, may have different velocity, may have different acceleration, and then consequently they may have different inertial forces inside them. So in order to determine the position, which is the first step in determining or in synthesizing a mechanism or linkage, the position analysis require, or it depends on what is the degree of freedom of certain mechanism. Degree of freedom in some text is also called mobility. So a degree of freedom is simply defined as number of independent variables which are required to be specified for determining its position. So you must keep it in notice that the variables which are required should be fully independent. It also means that uh, an element or a link when in a space may have different degree of freedom than when it is considered on a plane. For an example, let's say there is an element in a space. So for completely describing the position of this element into three-dimensional space, there are at least 6 parameters which are required to be completely defined. For an example, if we want to describe the position of this link at particular point, say P, then we must know what is the angle of P with respect to this plane, and then what is the angle of this point P with respect to this plane, YY plane, and then what is the position of point P with respect to Z plane. So this is described by X, Y, Z, which are the coordinates of this point P, and this point P along this line, which is along this element, makes the angle with respect to plane X. Let's say it is theta. With respect to plane Y, let's say it is alpha, and then with respect to plane Z, then let's say it is phi. Then in order to completely define,
हेलो सर
हाँ बोलिए.
सर आप फोकस कर सकते हो थोड़ा ब्लर दिख रहा है
Is it fine?
यस सर
Okay, so we need at least 6 parameters to completely define the position of one element in a space, and therefore we say any element or any link has 6 degrees of freedom in space. So this is the degree of freedom for an independent link in space. We must notice we are talking about spatial degree of freedom. Okay, it means that element is in the space. But when it is restricted to a plane, in such case the mechanism is called planar mechanism, which means that the link is simply lying on XY plane. It is a plane, it's not a three-dimensional space. In that case, the link can move along this plane, it can rotate along this plane. So therefore, we need at least 3 independent variables in order to completely define the position of this link, which actually means we need what is the coordinate xy of this point plus what is the angle it is making from at least any of the axes. Okay, and therefore we say any link in a plane has 3 degrees of freedom. So it depends on which kind of analysis we are going to perform, and on that basis we can say that its degree of freedom can be different when we consider space or when we consider plane. Now, there are some mathematical formulas which have been formulated in order to determine degrees of freedom. So for an example, let's say if we want to determine degree of freedom in spatial condition, it means that the link has been considered to be kept in a space. Now, here we are not considering an individual link, but we are considering a mechanism, or you can say a kinematic chain or a linkage which is lying in space. Okay. Now we must also consider that a mechanism or a kinematic chain has at least one link remain fixed. Otherwise, we cannot define it as a kinematic chain or a linkage. In order to determine the position, velocity, and acceleration, we must keep at least one link or one bar fixed, which is called frame. Okay. So let's say this is the linkage or mechanism we are considering. So in that case, if it has, let's say how many links, it has 4 links, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Similarly, it has 4 joints. Now, degree of freedom, it means that each element has 6 individual degrees of freedom. So we can simply write an expression that degree of freedom is nothing but 6 NL, where NL denotes number of links. So if the mechanism has NL number of links, then we can say, and since individual links have 6 degrees of freedom, so we can say degree of freedom is 6 into NL, but again, because at least one of the member is required to be fixed, so we say 6 NL minus 1. So one fixed link reduces the degree of freedom. Again, each joint, whatever nature they may be, they also reduce the degrees of freedom. For an example, let's say if you have one revolute joint between these 2 links, which actually means that this link can rotate about this link. See, in the actual condition, when this link was free from this link, it had 6 degrees of freedom, but as soon as it is connected to another link by a revolute joint, it lost its ability to move independently in the space, and therefore we can say that because of this joint, now this link has only 1 degree of freedom. It can only rotate. If we fix this, it can only rotate in a plane, which actually means that now the link has only 1 degree of freedom, which also means that it has lost 5 degrees of freedom. So therefore, because of the each joint presents certain number of constraints. So if it is a revolute joint, it means that it is producing 5 number of constraint for each link. So it means that because of this joint, the 5 degrees of freedom have lost. Similarly, because of this joint also, 5 degree of freedom is lost. Because of this joint also, 5 degrees of freedom is lost. And because of this also 5 degrees of freedom, it means that each joint presents some constraints. So if degree of freedom is 6 NL minus 1, so minus, we should again reduce the number of constraints NC, where NC is number of constraint for each joint. So I hope this is the most basic equation for determining the degree of freedom for a spatial joint, and I hope that this equation is clear to you. So there is a question from one person that why we are required to keep one frame fix. If you remember, you take your engine or compressor or pump, you cannot keep each member moving. You need to keep at least one member fixed. For an example, in case of engine, the engine cover, or you can say the piston remains fixed. Sorry, not piston, the piston cylinder remains fixed. It means that the piston cylinder does not move in an IC engine. Similarly, in compressor also, or in pump also, we need to keep at least one member fixed so that we can determine the position of other members with respect to that fixed member. So that is why a kinematic chain or a linkage is defined only when at least one member is fixed. And in previous class, I have also told you that we can keep any member fixed. And depending upon which member has been fixed, the output motion of the whole mechanism changes. Anyways, this one is the most basic fundamental equation for mobility or for determining the degree of freedom in space of a linkage which is in space. Now here also it is important to determine what is the constraint. So here you have seen a revolute joint produce 5 number of constraint. It means that due to a revolute joint, a link loses 5 degrees of freedom and can only rotate about this point. Similarly, if it is not a revolute joint, but if it is a cylindrical joint, which actually means, let's say if there is a shaft which is rotating inside a hub, so the shaft is rotating inside a hub. So if you consider the shaft can rotate about its own axis, plus it can also move or translate inside this hub, which actually means that this shaft, the inside shaft, has 2 degrees of freedom. So because of this cylindrical joint, it has lost 4 degrees of freedom. We must notice that we are considering the spatial kind of motion. It means that the link has been kept in space. If say we are not considering it to be kept in space, but we are considering it in a plane, then it can only move or slide and it cannot rotate, and in that case the degree of freedom becomes 1. We will discuss the planar case later. At this moment we are only considering the spatial motion. Similarly, if it is a prismatic joint is you can say like this. So instead of a cylindrical element which is moving, here a rectangular element moves inside a hollow block. So this prismatic joint, this prismatic element moves inside this hollow block, So it can only move in one direction. It cannot rotate like a cylindrical joint, and therefore we say a prismatic joint has only 1 degree of freedom. Again, let's take an example of a ball and socket joint, or sometimes we also say a spherical joint. So this element can rotate inside this in 3 dimensions, okay, but it cannot translate in any direction. So it's like a joint, a shoulder joint. If you remember your shoulder joint, so it has 3 degrees of freedom, all 3 angles, but it cannot translate. So because of this spherical joint, it has 3 degrees of freedom. It has lost 3 degrees of freedom. Similarly, what about this cam? So cam and follower is probably a new thing for you, but this cam rotates and this follower follows the motion of cam. Okay. So this cam rotates, and there are 2 kinds of motion involved. One is rotation and another is sliding of this follower over this cam, and therefore a cam and follower mechanism generally has 2 degrees of freedom. What are these 2 degrees? One is rotation and another is sliding of follower over this cam. The similar 2 degrees of freedom are also possible with gears. If there are 2 gears which are connected with each other, it's a gear joint. Okay. Then again, there are 2 kinds of motion possible, which one is sliding and another is rotating. So a gear joint also has 2 degrees of freedom. Now, again, let's come back to our equation for determining the degree of freedom. So we earlier defined that degree of freedom. I'm just writing a subscript S, which means that it is for spatial linkages. Degree of freedom, our equation was 6 number of links minus 1 minus number of constraints. And again, what is the number of constraint? So number of constraint is nothing but a joint puts some constraint, and it is equivalent to how many degrees of freedom a link has lost due to that particular joint. So number of constraint, which means that if Nj is number of joints, if Nj is number of joints, then number of constraint is, because originally each joint has 6 degrees of freedom. So we can say 6 Nj minus mobility of each joint. So mobility of each joint or degree of freedom of each joint is defined as summation of fi is, it means that the mobility or degree of freedom of each joint So this equation, let's just understand a bit more about this equation. What is the number of constraints? See, each joint originally had 6 degrees of freedom, but at this, let's say you are considering this revolute joint. Okay, one link can rotate with respect to another link. So we say that this link, this joint has 1 degrees of freedom. This revolute joint has 1 degree of freedom or 1 mobility. We say the mobility is 1, which is actually fi. So number of constraint in this case is 5, isn't it? I think you understand that number of constraint is nothing but the degrees of freedom it has lost due to that particular joint. So number of constraint is 5. So if you use this equation, number of constraint, so 6 into number of joint we are considering 1, this rotational joint, minus, because we are considering only 1 joint, so summation becomes irrelevant, and fi is 1, you know, means degree of freedom is 1, so number of constraint becomes 5. So putting this equation into the first one, we can get one more expression for determining the degree of freedom of spatial joints. So it will become 6 NL minus 1 minus 6 NJ minus summation of degrees of freedom of all the joints. Just simplifying this, it becomes 6 NL minus NJ minus 1 plus summation of mobility of each joint. So we must notice that there are 2 equations which you can find in various textbooks in order to determine degrees of freedom. No, it's really up to you to use whichever equation you find easy, either equation 1 or equation 2. Both people use both 2 equations as per their convenience, and it can be used, you can also use in the same manner. Now let's take an example of a mechanism for which we can determine the degrees of freedom. Or just let me show you one figure. So is this figure visible to you all? I'm talking about figure 1. So this is one question of assignment 1 that we will, the assignment 1 we will send you soon, but you see this is a robot, a schematic of robot. Okay, so schematic of robot means there is one element and there is another element here, and all the elements move relative to each other. Okay, before let's, I think this will become a bit tedious. Let's come to some simple examples before we come to this robot. Uh, so mobility and degrees of freedom both are same. Okay, in some textbook you will find that they define degree of freedom in terms of mobility. They say it's mobility, but it is essentially the same. Now let's say there is a mechanism. A mechanism is generally named on the basis of their configuration, of their joint configuration. For an example, let's say there is a 4-bar mechanism like this. It means that a mechanism in which there are 4 elements which move relative to each other. So element 1, 2, 3, and 4. Similarly, there are 4 number of joints: joint 1, joint 2, joint 3, and joint 4. The first example we are considering is, let's say this joint is revolute joint R. Let's say this is an spherical joint S. Another, let's say it is also a spherical joint S, and let's say this is a joint R, means revolute joint. So we say this mechanism is simply called RSSR mechanism. So RSSR mechanism is a mechanism in which there are 4 members, and there are 2 revolute joints, and then there are 2 spherical joints. So in this case, the degree of freedom can be determined using this equation. 6, NL is number of links, so it is 4. NJ is again number of joints, it is also 4, minus 1 plus summation. It means that sum of individual mobility. So mobility of this revolute joint is 1. Okay, means degree of freedom of this joint is 1. A spherical joint has 3 degrees of freedom. Again, a spherical joint has 3 degrees of freedom. And again, a revolute joint has 1 degree of freedom, which actually means that a RSSR mechanism has two degrees of freedom. Okay. Similarly, let's say all these joints are not spherical, but let's say all these joints are revolute. Then we say it is 4R mechanism. When it is a 4R mechanism, the degrees of freedom will be -6, because this expression remains same, plus mobility of each joint. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which means that it has -2 degrees of freedom. Now here comes the term which is in minus, and we should understand what does it mean. Any structure which has degrees of freedom in minus is actually called statically indeterminate structure. What is a statically indeterminate structure? It means that the structure or the mechanism cannot be synthesized by simple equations, and it requires certain spatial treatment in order to determine the position of each joint. It also means that either the mechanism is not possible, or if mechanism is possible, there are no relative motions occurring. So if you think critically about this mechanism where all these four joints are revolute, it is almost impossible to make a mechanism in which all the joints are revolute. You see, if this is rotating, this may also rotate, but this joint, rotation of this joint is almost impossible, because this will rotate and again this will again rotate. So it becomes very, very difficult. In actual condition, it is either impossible to perform such motion, or the whole mechanism remains static in nature, or we cannot determine the position, or we cannot do analysis of such mechanism using simple mathematical equation, and some special treatment may be required. Let's consider another example in which this joint is like this fourth joint is a cylindrical joint. So if you remember a crank and a slider mechanism, so a crank and a slider mechanism, so there is this crank which rotates, and then there is this connecting rod or follower which remains attached to a piston, and the piston moves inside a cylinder. So see, this is a revolute joint. This is again a revolute joint. This is again a revolute joint, and the joint between this piston and cylinder is of translation. Although the joint is cylindrical, you must remember the piston is round in shape and it moves up and down inside the cylinder, but it does not rotate. So essentially this cylindrical joint becomes a sliding joint, and a sliding joint means that it allows only 1 degree of freedom. A slider joint has only 1 degree of freedom. Although it's a cylindrical joint, but because this motion allows only 1 degree of freedom, it becomes equivalent to sliding joint. So in this case, which is very similar to all the joints are like this, RRRC, a mechanism RRRC. So in order to determine degree of freedom for this, -6, the whole expression remains same, so I'm writing -6 plus sum of all the individual mobility, means for this one, for this one, for this one, and a cylindrical joint will have 2 degrees of freedom theoretically. So it becomes -1. Now here you can say degree of freedom is again, it is in minus, but the system moves. Actually there is a motion of piston inside the cylinder. So the whole structure is actually not statically indeterminate. It's a useful structure. But you should remember that what we are talking about at this point is spatial degree of freedom. And this mechanism is not spatial. This mechanism is a planar mechanism. Why we say this is a planar mechanism? Because all the motion take place on one plane. You see, there are no 3-dimensional motion. All the motion is taking place in 1 dimension, and therefore for analyzing such a structure or such a mechanism, we must consider degree of freedom in case of planar mechanism, for which we have not determined, we have not mentioned the equations. Okay, so a spatial mechanism will have -1 degree of freedom in this case, which is like a statically indeterminate structure it will become. Similarly, there may be different other kinds of one most common example where we can use a spatial degree of freedom is robot, no? Or a kinematic loop. So a kinematic loop will have so this is a robot. So if you can see here, this figure 1. So this figure 1, how to determine this degrees of freedom. So this will have how many number of elements if you want to just if you want to determine how many degrees of freedom this has. So 6 NL is the number of links. Let's count number of links. This is the fixed part, link 1. This rotates, this is link 2. So this is, I'm just writing link 1, link 2, this is link 3, this is link 4, which actually moves here. Here, this is link 5, and here, this is link 6. Okay, so there are 6 number of links, and normally a robot has seven links. It is not restricted to 6 link. So one, two, three. This one is 4, 5. This is 6. So let's say if it has only 6 link. So the equation will become 6, 5 minus how many number of joints? There is this one joint C, and here it is second joint, here it is third joint, here it is fourth joint, then there is fifth joint. Okay, so number of joints becomes 5 minus 1 plus sum of all the individual mobilities. So individual mobility will become, see, this is a revolute joint. So I'm writing 1. Here there are 2 degrees of freedom. For this joint, you see, it is like this and it can also move like this. So I'm writing 2 degrees of freedom. Here again, it's a prismatic joint, only 1 degree of freedom. Here, if you can see, there is a notation which says that it can move into 2 directions. So it has 2 degrees of freedom. And then there is this rotation. Okay, which, so if you read the question, it says that this kinematic chain includes cylindrical joint. So this is a cylindrical joint, and this is also a cylindrical joint, and this is the prismatic joint, and here it is a spherical joint. This is a spherical pair. If you read the question, it says that it is cylindrical, prismatic, and spherical. So here this joint is spherical in nature, and if you can see, there is written as S, very small. So we should consider 3 degrees of freedom for this joint. So 3 here, 1 here, 2 here, so 3 एक 4 2 6, and here it is only 1, it is rotation, so 7. So I'm just writing 7 somehow. So it will become -6 plus 1. So we are missing at least one link. So I think what it has not shown, but if you can see in the figure, it is not visible to you under this, but if you can see, they have mentioned here 2 links. So link 3, link 2, link 0, link 1. So actually there are total number of 6 links. That is where we are doing somewhat wrong. So it becomes 6 minus 5 minus 1. So it becomes 0. Sorry. Yeah, it becomes 0. So here it becomes 7. Uh, we can further discuss this problem because it is required to be, the figure is not very clear here, and it is required to be discussed in detail. Maybe in the next class I will discuss more about this figure, or we will have some better figure so that you can actually see what is happening. So as of now, just let's hold on this on to this example. Now let's consider what is a planar degree of freedom. So a planar degree of freedom, it means that we are considering all the mechanism. You see, in most of the cases, the mechanisms like IC engine, like a compressor or like a pump, in all these mechanisms, the motion takes place into one plane. Mostly we say it takes place into XY plane. So in an XY plane, a link has 3 degrees of freedom. You see, this point is required to have 2 coordinates x and y as well as the angle theta. So if you remember, a link in open space has 6 degrees of freedom, but when it lies in a plane, it means that it can only rotate in this plane or it can move in this plane. Then the link has 3 degrees of freedom. So if the link has 3 degrees of freedom, the equation for planar mechanism, very similar to equation for spatial mechanisms. The planar mechanism, we can simply write DOF, I am writing subscript P, because each link has 3 degrees of freedom and at least one member is required to be fixed. So I'm writing 3 NL minus 1 minus number of constraints. Very similar to equation 1. Now here you must notice that what is number of constraint in case of planar mechanism. It is not same as in spatial mechanism, because if you are considering this revolute joint, earlier this link had 3 degrees of freedom, but because of this revolute joint, it has lost 2 and number of degree of freedom becomes 1. In a spatial case, if you remember, we have lost 5 degrees of freedom, but here in this planar case, we have lost 2 degrees of freedom, and we say the number of constraint is 2. Similarly, if it is a prismatic joint, so again, if it is in case of revolute joint, the degree of freedom is 1 and we have lost 2. If it is a prismatic joint, we again say there is only 1 degree of freedom, because the rectangular element moves in only one direction. So again we lost 2. If it is a spherical joint, again has only 1 degree of freedom when it is moving in a plane. It can only rotate in a plane, and therefore again we lost 2. If it is a cylindrical joint, so also remember, if it is a cylindrical joint, it again has only 1 degree of freedom, it lost 2. Because the cylinder can only move in the plane, it cannot rotate about its own axis, because all the motions are considered to be planar. So essentially a cylindrical joint becomes equivalent to a sliding pair. And a sliding pair again has only 1 degree of freedom. So in each case, if you see, in each case we have lost 2 for each joint, or we have only 1 degree of freedom in case of planar mechanism. So this equation we can write 3 NL minus 1 minus NC is the number of constraint which depends on the number of joints. Each joint proposes whatever constraint. So each joint proposes 2 constraints. Whatever may be the nature of joint, because of each joint we are losing 2 degrees of freedom, or each joint is supposed to have 2 constraints. So I'm just writing 2 into number of joints. So we can write 3 this is one simple equation we can write. We must write it like equation 3. Again, number of constraint, if you want to more explore this equation, number of constraint in the very similar manner we have written for a spatial condition. NC can be written as each joint has 3 degrees of freedom in a plane. So 3 NJ minus I is equal to 1 to number of joints, sum of individual mobility, Fi. So we can again write degree of freedom for a planar mechanism 3 NL minus NJ minus 1 plus summation of all the individual mobility. Now we can determine again, this is just a quick assignment to you, that whatever mechanism we have earlier considered, like RRRR or RSSR or RRC, just the variants, and you can just determine the degree of freedom for each linkage and then compare the degree of freedom of planar mechanism with respect to spatial mechanisms. So a degree of freedom for a linkage simply shows that how many number of independent parameters are required in order to determine the position of a linkage. For an example, let's say if degree of freedom of this 4-bar link is 1, it means that we require only one parameter in order to determine the position of all other elements. So it may be this theta. So if you know this theta and you also know the length of each bar, then you can determine the position of all other member or the position of this linkage at any particular theta. So most of the practical mechanisms have only 1 degree of freedom. It means that only one parameter is sufficient to determine the position of all other elements at any particular instant. So we will consider more examples for determining degree of freedom and determining degree of freedom in planar condition in the next class. Now, if you have any question, you can ask to me. So does anyone has any question for today?